Good morning and welcome to Wishwa Farms. I'm Jason and it is shaping up to be a beautiful day here on the farm. First thing I'm working on today is picking up these 28 bags of perlite that I have over here in our old dairy and taking them over to the greenhouse so I can start filling Bato buckets. Some of this perlite is left over from last year and some of it has been sitting in here for 2, 3, 4 years. And I want to get it used up today so I know exactly how many to buy to get me through the rest of this spring. Let's take a quick look at Joel's garlic. It is super muddy out here, but it looks like a lot of it is popped up about 1 inch out of the plastic. All right, I'm gonna get all this perlite carried into the greenhouse. There are 307 buckets in this greenhouse, and it takes a bag to fill about 12 or 13 buckets. So I haven't done the math in a while, but it'll take all 28 I have, I'm sure, plus some. All right, let's get all that brought in here and then we'll move on to something else. Well, I've been out here filling buckets for a while now. I got about half the greenhouse done, and I was doing some calculations on how many bags I needed to fill all these buckets, and it's about 11 buckets per bag, so that means I needed about 28 bags for this greenhouse, and it looks like I'm going to be about 6 bags short. But that's okay because I have another skid and a half of perlite on order, ready for pickup at Griffin Greenhouse Supply in Perrysburg, Ohio. And I plan to go pick that up later this week or first of next week. But I need to get it in here and finish this up quickly because I think we're going to be transplanting tomatoes here in the next 12 to 15 days. Today's February 18th, and I think the first few days of March I'll be out here ready to transplant. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the remaining bags I have left in here, which is only 4 it looks like. As you can see, this perlite can be very dusty. So I always try to open the side vents on the greenhouse to get some airflow in here, because you don't want to breathe this stuff. It makes you cough pretty bad. You definitely don't want it in your eye. Perlite has a very high surface area, and it looks like a jagged piece of popcorn under a microscope. And if you get this stuff in your eye, it will likely scratch it, and it's very difficult to get it out. Bringing in all my fertilizer for the hydroponic tomatoes. This is Epsom salts, which is just magnesium sulfate. This one is potassium nitrate. Then I also have monopotassium phosphate, calcium nitrate, and sulfur of potash. Oh, and iron. What I'm bringing in will be 1 season's supply, and I'll have a partial pallet here on both pallets. And I have a few random bags left over from last year that I'll put up on top to make sure I use those up first. All right, there we go. 2,000 pounds of fertilizer to get me through the 2026 hydroponic greenhouse tomato season. So recently I talked about how I was going to remove that plastic on the face of that greenhouse and replace it with rigid polycarbonate. I got the quote back and it was going to cost me almost $2,300 in polycarbonate panels and aluminum H channel. That's how you join it together. Just for that one greenhouse wall. I'm not willing to spend $2,300 on that. I would consider $1,000 or $1,500 because I know plastics are not cheap right now. So what I've done instead, as you can probably see it through the wall here, just barely, I added another blower fan, inflator fan. There's a lot of wrinkles in it because it was really difficult for my son and I to put this up 3 years ago because of this building being here. Normally you just wiggle wire it at the top, let it drape down, pull it all nice and tight and snug, and put the wiggle wires on. But I had to kind of guesstimate a cutout for this building, and it made it very difficult, and that's why there's a lot of wrinkles and folds, and it's just not blowing up tight. And I had to patch probably 20 little holes all around to get it to hold air. So here's the fan I installed yesterday. I just kind of Jimmy rigged it up in there so it'll do its thing, blowing in air into the double poly. So I'm making some progress at getting this greenhouse ready. I think tomorrow I'm gonna fill the boiler up with water and get it fired up, make sure it's ready to go. That way I don't have to scramble to get it done 1st of March. So we'll get that going and the water heater going, because I'm gonna have to turn my water on to fill up my boiler, all the pipes running through the greenhouse. And in order to do that, I also have to fill up the water heater. So we'll get those two things up and running, and we'll be one step closer to transplant day. Another project I plan on trying to work on tomorrow is bringing down all of the perlite bags and laying them out in the grape tomato greenhouse. It's not really anything that needs to be done right away because the grape tomatoes are only like 3 inches tall, probably 3 to 4 weeks away before they're ready to be transplanted down there. But I have the time on my hands right now. I'm not out in the fields working, so it's a good time to just get organized on the farm and knock out a lot of these little dirty jobs, I call them, you know, things I don't like to do, things that I will not do during the summer because I'm too busy. So while I have the time right now, I figured I might as well get them done. A lot of cleaning and organizing to do in the barns, a lot of little things to repair, changing plastic out on that greenhouse right there. That's our little greenhouse. It's only 21 feet wide by 96. And this greenhouse that we call our tall greenhouse, this sheet right here on this side is on its 3rd season, I believe, but it's a 2-part because it has the ridge vent up there. So that part was replaced, I think, 3 years ago. The other side is on year 7, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is on year 7. And there's a big tear up in the top at the other end that I have to tape every year. So the light transmission is probably not good through that poly. So I got the roll inside the greenhouse. We're gonna be changing that one very soon. I'll have Emma out to help me put that up here probably next week sometime. And then the big one. I've been putting this off for years. This one's at least on year 7, maybe 8. So I got the plastic for this one. Fortunately, we don't need to get it done right away, but here in the next 2 to 3 weeks or a month, we'll definitely be working on that one. All right, it's just about dinner time. I think I'm gonna call today. Tomorrow morning, we have a surprise guest coming to visit our farm all the way from Louisiana. He is a fellow vegetable farmer. I think you guys will really enjoy it. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Stay tuned. Well, good morning. Just starting the day off, watering our greenhouse tomato transplants, and they are looking really strong. They're probably 9 or 10 inches tall now. Very healthy looking. Our special guest is on his way and should be arriving here shortly. All right, folks, our special guest has arrived from Louisiana. This is Scott from Ryan Farms. He was up in the Kentucky area visiting the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, and that's only like 2.5 hours south of me. So we thought it would be the perfect opportunity for him to hop up here and visit us at Wishwell Farms. So Scott, tell us a little bit about Ryan Farms in Louisiana?
Well, we grow different produce crops in the summer and the fall, and this will be my 32nd crop year coming up in 2026.
Wow.
Doing it full time. I did it a couple years part-time before that. My family grew row crops growing up, so that's kind of all I ever did. I never imagined I'd be doing this, and it kind of started as an experiment and took off from there.
Wow. How many acres are you currently growing?
We grow right at 100 acres of vegetable crops, and a little bit of that's a double crop, so it's a little bit more than that.
Okay. And what would you say your biggest, most profitable crop is that you grow on your farm?
Dollar-wise, it's watermelons.
Okay.
And it's pretty significant above the rest. But the rest are, probably our number 2 would be purple hull peas, and peaches kind of right under that.
We were talking about the purple hull peas. That's like something completely foreign to me here in Ohio. Explain to the viewers that don't live in the South, what is so great about purple hull peas?
It's just a regional southern thing, I guess, because people grew up, that's what grandma had in her garden, purple hull peas. And the fact that they're so popular for us is you cannot buy them anywhere. They're not frozen at the store. You have to buy them from somebody that grows them.
Okay.
And it's just, it's like people just line up and
wow.
It's amazing.
That's incredible.
It really is.
I was telling them, it kind of makes me think of white half runners. A lot of folks in the South love their half runners, and it's like the only thing I can kind of really compare that to. Up here in Ohio, some people know about the half runners, but not very many. People around here just want their regular sugar snap peas, their shelling peas, or regular green beans.
Yeah, and we shell them, and people, when they come get them, we start off, we have to limit. There's a limit, but maybe later in the summer we don't limit people, but they're getting enough to last all year.
Okay.
They'll freeze them.
Very interesting. So I'm guessing this is getting to be close to your busy time of the year.
Yeah.
How in the world are you getting away in mid-February?
Today is Friday. I'll be planting in the greenhouse on Monday, so this is the last possible opportunity I can be away from the farm.
Okay.
So it's normally, if I were to go on any kind of trip, it'd be in January.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
So.
Seems like January is a good time for most people to travel that are in this kind of business.
I've got my help at home working. They're pruning peach trees.
Oh, wow.
So that's a big job.
Okay. And you told me how many peach trees you have?
About 425.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said 100 acres total of vegetables. Does that include fruits
That includes a peach orchard.
Okay.
It's about 6 acres of peaches.
Okay. So you are currently using the H2A program to bring in migrant help.
Correct.
To be able to harvest everything.
Yep.
I'm sure that's a lot easier than using and trying to hire local help, or is it? What's your thoughts on that?
No, it's more expensive, but much easier. These guys are here to work. They don't mind doing what needs to be done, and I don't think I could do it if I had to depend on local help.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just so strenuous. It's so hot. Loading those big watermelons and different things.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's not all year. They're here for a certain time, then they go home.
Okay.
They can make enough in the summer that lasts their families for a whole year.
Wow.
Down there. So it benefits me, but it benefits them.
Yeah.
They want to come.
And you've been using them for how many years?
Well, some of them for over 20.
Is that right?
But I've never had any that didn't want to come back. So that tells you something.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
I guess. Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest challenge at Ryan Farms right now?
Oh. Well, it's probably going to be similar to yours. Cost. We can't control the weather. That's always one of the biggest obstacles. Labor, it's probably going to be either cost of the inputs or cost of the labor, because where does it end?
Yeah.
There's only so many dollars you can charge for a watermelon,
right,
or for a tomato.
I feel like there's a price ceiling at some point.
There's a ceiling, and so where does it stop? I don't think I would have ever thought I would be charging now 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But they didn't cost as much 20 years ago.
Right.
So 20 years from now, are you paying, $6 for one tomato? I don't know. Where does it stop?
Yeah, I understand.
So,
and as far as pests and weeds, are those challenges
that's
you
a gigantic challenge. It's in our climate, our insects are terrible, just terrible. And people don't understand. The organic people, we have to control the pest, or we would not have anything.
Right.
And it's something that we have to stay on top of. But even in addition to the insects is going to be disease. We get so much humidity, rainfall, it just breeds disease. You know, we have to stay on top of that a lot.
Now, all fruit and vegetable growers have to deal with that as well, but I'm guessing it's even more difficult in the southern states where you just have more heat and humidity for more time of this longer part of the season.
Our growing season's so long.
Yeah.
And we, especially on the fungicides, really on the insecticides too, but I stay on a schedule and I do not get off. I mean, it doesn't matter if I have to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, I don't get off my schedule.
Yeah.
And that helps. You know, the fungicides a lot of times are preventative. So if you start seeing something, sometimes it's too late.
Right.
So you want to stay on top of it.
Tell us a little bit about your marketing channels, wholesale, retail. Do you have an on-farm market?
We have an on-farm market, and we're open 6 days a week in the summer, and then in the fall we'll close for a little while and open back up in the fall. We also do wholesale, but we do not deliver one single thing all year. Everybody comes to us, which makes it nice.
Yeah.
Probably maybe 50-50 split on the wholesale and retail. It's hard to know exactly. That's dollars, not people, but dollars. It's hard to know exactly the split. It gets to be more retail every year, which is what I want. We do $0 on advertising.
Wow.
It's all just word of mouth. And we're kind of the only people like us in our area, which helps, because we have people that come from a long way, which is a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the Lord's blessed us, so I'm thankful.
That's great. Well, Scott, I really appreciate you stopping by our farm. And if you guys are interested in seeing more on Ryan Farms produce, make sure you check out his channel. I will drop the link to his channel down in the description box so you guys can find him quickly and easily. Hopefully next year I'll have the opportunity to come down and visit you at your farm.
I hope so.
And it's very nice meeting you in person finally.
I enjoyed being here. Jason's a great guy.
Yeah, thanks. Safe travels back home to Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
Wow, it is getting nasty out. 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it's cold. That's a wrap on this one, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time down on the farm.